Well, hello, it's Dan, your friendly fishmonger from dansfish.com, and today we're going to look at another species of killifish. This is a lamp-eye. It is called Congo Panchax meyersi. It used to be called Poro Panchax meyersi, and before that it was called Aplocalyctes meyersi. So if you look under any of those names, you'll find this little fish. Beautiful little guys, hard to find. Finally got some in after first seeing their picture in this book. Ta-da! Back when I was just a tyke, back in the 90s, I saw a picture of these guys in here and I've wanted them ever since. And so finally got some in, so let's take a look at them. Alright, here they are. Now, as you can see, they have a brilliant blue eyeball. That's why they're called lamp-eye killifish. And they're a very small species. This is a nano fish for sure. If they get an inch, that's big for these guys. Maybe one would get over an inch, but I think an inch about tops it out. Maybe a little under that. And they're fairly slim fish as well. So they don't take up a ton of space. You can have quite a few of these in a smaller tank. And I think they would do just fine if you can keep the water quality up. Now, this lamp eye that they've developed, it's so that they can see and find each other in the murky water. So if it floods or if there's a lot of tannins in the water, this allows them to find the other lamp eyes and hang out together. And that's a distinction between these lamp eye killifish and lots of other kinds of killifish. If you take an Aphyosemion or a Fundulopanchax or a South American annual killifish or a Nothobronchius or most other killifish, and you just keep one in a tank by itself, it's going to be fine. It's going to be comfortable and just be thrilled. These guys, though, they need to be in a group. They have a shoaling behavior, and they have that bright eye so they can find each other and stay in a group and feel comfortable. If you just have one of these in a tank, then yeah, it might live, but it's not going to feel nearly as comfortable as it would in a group. So they're small enough. I would recommend a minimum group of about a dozen or so if you can. More would be even better. The other reason is when you get a big group of them in an aquarium, then that bright blue eye looks like, if you get a bunch of them, then it looks like a swarm of fireflies swimming around through the water. Just these glowing blue dots swimming around, which is really cool. So, yeah, I think a group is the way to go. Now let's talk about feeding these guys. They eat almost anything. I'm going to feed them some baby brine shrimp here because this is the afternoon feeding. I tend to feed flakes and pellets in the mornings and then live and frozen in the evenings. And the reason is I don't want to spoil them first thing in the morning and get them eating live food, because then they'll get a little picky. But if I feed them in the morning prepared foods, when they're still hungry, then they eat them really easy. In fact, they'll eat them all day long. But I do that with all my fish. Morning is prepared foods. Evening is like a treat, live or frozen. And these guys will eat almost anything as long as it fits in their mouth. They have a small mouth. They'll eat flake food. It just helps if you crush it up a little bit. They'll eat pellet food. It just helps if it's a small pellet, like a micro pellet or a small granule type thing. They'll eat it right up. If it's a bigger pellet, that's fine. Just squish it up a bit, and they'll be great. So not a problem to feed at all. Color-wise, and it's not going to come through well on this video, but color-wise, the males get a yellow anal fin, and then the dorsal fin has this neat kind of pork chop shape to it. There's a good video on YouTube that shows them clearly, the males displaying. I didn't get any footage of them displaying, but I will try to link that video up top if I can do that. If I don't know if that video has permission to do that, but I'll try to do that so you guys can see them in display. So once they settle in display, if I could catch it on video, there's a whole bunch of behavior that's interesting that we're not getting right now. But they're, again, peaceful, simple fish. Temperature-wise, I'm keeping mine in the mid-70s. They can go low 70s to high 70s. Mid-70s is perfect. If you get much above 80 or so, they'll probably be okay. It definitely gets above that in some of their habitats, but their life will be shorter and they might not be as comfortable. So mid-70s is about where I would recommend these go. Now the genus on these guys has changed a ton, but we've settled on Congo panchax for now. It could change. The other species in that genus is Congo panchax burchardi, and it's an amazing fish. It's so beautiful. One day I'll get them. But for now, I'm glad to finally have these little buggers. Now on the bottom of this aquarium, I have some Corydoras catfish, and they get along splendidly. I think these would even do fine with a group of small danios, like the Taiwan eye danio, gold ring danio, or maybe or boraris, some of the dwarf rasboras. They would do fine. Basically anything that can't eat them, they would do fine with, and they're quick enough to the food that I don't think they would get out competed by danios or rasboras or other kind of fast small fish like that. One thing that you will want to do to make these guys comfortable is provide some cover. So they need the cover to feel comfortable, and as long as they have it, then they'll be out and about and swimming and you'll see them. If you don't have a lot of cover, then they might kind of find a corner and just hang out in it and not be very active because they're uncomfortable. Now you don't need a ton of cover. They're not a big fish. They don't need tons of space that's covered, but some is necessary to make them comfortable enough that they'll come out in school and you can enjoy their bright flickering eyes all around the place. Now, I have not bred these yet, but I know other people that have bred these and the Congo panchax burchardi, and they say that the eggs are surprisingly large for such a small fish. The babies are small for killifish, but they're bigger than tetras, they're bigger than barbs and things like that. So I think you could start them on infusoria for a few days and then switch to brine shrimp and microworms and vinegar eels and stuff like that. But I haven't tried it yet. I've checked them up a few times, but I've only had these guys for about 2 weeks and I haven't had any spawning action yet. But they are getting good weight on them. When I got them in, they were a little skinny. They bulked up quite a bit since I've got them. So I know I'm on the right track. My hope is that I can get some babies of these fairly soon. Now, with all killifish, you have to be careful of jumping. I will say, though, that lamp-eyes in general tend to jump less than Aphyosemians and Epiplades and Rivulus and the other killifish. Now, they can still jump, but if you have a tank that doesn't have a completely sealed lid, this might be an option for you, provided there's decent cover at the surface for them to feel comfortable. I haven't had any jump, and I've forgot to close the lid on the tanks a couple times and didn't have any issue. So that's not a guarantee. I'm not familiar enough with this species to know that for sure, but as an experiment, I left the once I saw that they weren't jumping, I left the top off one of the tanks for about 3 days and nights, and still I haven't seen a single one jump. So this would be safer for that. The same is true for the Procatopus similis and the Poropanchax lexothalmus and the other lamp-eyes. So there probably are lamp-eyes that jump, and maybe in different conditions, in different environments, in different setups, they jump more. But just so you know, I haven't had any jump in my tanks, and they've had plenty of opportunity. So again, there's a lot of species of killifish I would never put in a tank that isn't tightly sealed, but these seem to be one that might be able to do that. So just to put that out there. Let's see, I think that's about it for these guys. Bright, glowing eyes, super peaceful, small, easy to feed, and they seem pretty hardy. I think I lost 1 in one tank and 2 in another tank since I've got them. That was in the first couple days when they were still settling in. And I have 400 or 500 of these total, so they seem to be very hardy. And after those first couple days, no losses at all. So they seem like an easy fish to care for. Anyways, yeah, that's the Congo panchax Myers eye. So thrilled to finally have them. And yeah, hope you like them too. All right, so there you have it. That's Congo panchax Myers eye, tiny little lamp eye, ton of fun, and species that I like a lot, and I'm glad to finally see them in person. If you have any questions or comments about these guys, please feel free to post them down below and we will geek out. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.